Hello, Star Wars fans. We are here finally. We've been talking about this for a long time, Bates.
We have.
We are here. First podcast episode. Welcome to the Starlight Podcast after my favorite space station, RIP Starlight Beacon. But we're here. First episode. We're going to see how this goes. We're just going to be chatting about Star Wars, stuff we like, stuff we don't like. We've been friends for seems like forever now. Let's
Yeah.
do our intros. Jonny, who are you?
Who am I? Well, hello, everybody. I am Jonny. If you're coming over from Connor's TikTok, you may remember me as Daddy Sheev.
Daddy Sheev, let's go.
Old school live streams that we used to do back over COVID. But yeah, so me and Connor are doing the Starlight podcast. Like you said, we're just going to talk about things we like and don't like about Star Wars, like current events, all that stuff. So, like today with the first podcast, we're going to cover all kinds of things from Star Wars celebrations. I'm looking forward to it. But just to give an intro, I've been a Star Wars fan since as long as I can remember. I remember at a young 5 years old walking into the theater to watch Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, and I've been hooked ever since. Just as part of our intro here, also to you guys of what my favorite, Star Wars stuff is. My favorite movie has got to be Return of the Jedi. I know it might not be the most like the best Star Wars movie, but it's my favorite from the original trilogy. And look at that, Princess Leia from Connor just showed there for our audio listeners. He just showed their Star Wars celebration pass that he had from London that he bought tickets for but didn't get to. We can get into that in a second.
Yes.
But yeah, so my favorite movie is Return of the Jedi. I just loved how it's encapsulated and completed the original trilogy. Loved Luke Skywalker, loved Endor, loved all of that. And then my favorite TV show from the current new Star Wars. This was a hard one. I was talking to Connor about this of do I pick Mando or do I pick Andor? And they're just very two different shows. I really like what they're doing with the Mandalorian. I know season 3 has been questioned by a lot of fans, but I like that show as general. Season 1 and 2 were great. I'm liking what they're doing with season 3. But Andor just brought something new to Star Wars with that character development and the start of the rebellion. So I'm gonna go with Andor. I really like that show. And I'm looking forward to the next season of that.
I
So
love Andor. And I know when Andor was coming out weekly, you and I were just foaming at the mouth basically
oh yeah,
to
man.
talk about it. And yeah, that's a great show. Great movie. Me, my intro. My name is Connor, aka Jedi.Connor on TikTok and
Yes,
all other
sir.
platforms. I've been a Star Wars fan forever, just like Jonny. Um, Basically, I loved Star Wars since I was a little kid, and end of middle school, high school, I kind of took a break. Just kind of grew apart. There wasn't really that much going on with the actual fandom. I mean, there was Clone Wars, but
That was during the
at
dark
that
times.
point, yeah, the
Yeah, that
dark
was
times.
that was during when if you guys can't guess our ages yet, that was during the time that Disney had bought Star Wars around like the 2012, 2013. That was
Mhm.
before the new trilogy. They canceled Clone Wars, which glad they brought back. Yeah, those were the dark times. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, there was a lot of uncertainty with Star Wars at that point, and I just kind of hadn't been paying attention to it. Like even when The Force Awakens came out, I didn't see that in theaters.
Oh, dude,
And
you missed out.
I know, I
Ah,
know. I think the first movie that I did see in theaters was Rogue One. I remember going to see Rogue One in theaters, and that was a banger. But yeah, then actually I picked back up with Star Wars when we were living together in college. Jonny and I went to the same school. Shout out Kutztown University,
and they
KU
were
Golden
roommates.
Bears, and they were roommates. Yeah, we were roommates, and we just yeah, you basically got me back into Star Wars, and we started watching YouTube videos, and deep diving into the lore. And then The Last Jedi came out, and that's what really got me because I love The Last Jedi. Now Bates,
Yeah, very, very
different
interesting
story,
opinion.
different story for Bates.
I may not be a total fan of that movie, but yeah, during school, uh, you know, I showed Connor Star Wars. We lived together. I think one of the main things that got you back in it was I showed him, for everybody listening, I showed him all of the trailers from all the old Republic games.
Yeah.
All the
Yes.
cinematic trailers. They're just absolutely incredible. I remember one night sitting down showing him those and watching all that. And we have so many memories of playing Battlefront 2 when that came out.
Mhm.
All throughout the night. But yeah, Connor got back in the Star Wars, and admittedly, he became a. You could argue that he's now knows more than I do. The apprentice has passed the master
There
there,
we
but
go.
um,
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I got my love back for Star Wars. And then over the pandemic, TikTok started to blow up. Like everyone was using TikTok. And then I saw like Chaco's videos. And I was like, you know what? Like I can also make videos. I don't know as much as these guys, but I do know stuff. And I started to make videos about stuff I did know. And then people would ask me questions. And then we just started to build on each other. And then a couple big hits on the videos, and then I started to gain a following. And excuse me. And now we have a big community here on Star Wars TikTok, and Bates was a part of that for a little bit, and then he had to step off the app.
yeah,
But
I definitely left the app. But Connor's been going strong. How many followers are you now on TikTok? I'm not even sure.
113,000.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's where we're at right now, slowly chugging along. But yeah, so that's me. My favorite movie is it bounces between The Last Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. Those are the two movies that they're both the middle of the trilogy. The heroes go through some difficult stuff. But I think it has to be Empire. There's just not there's
It's
this
it's
the
objectively the
nostalgia.
best movie
Yeah.
of the Star Wars trilogy. I know people will argue Revenge of the Sith, and I really like that movie, but objectively, Revenge of the Sith is probably the best. It's a good choice. The
Yeah.
Last Jedi, I don't know about that one, Chief, but we'll save that
I
for
love the
another
last.
time.
Oh my
We'll save
god, I
that for
love the
another
Last
one.
Jedi. Yes, but favorite TV show. I actually haven't really thought about this question. It's got to be. I love The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian,
I feel like there's two
but
answers here.
yeah, I
Andor or
love
Mando.
Mando.
Yeah.
I love Andor. But I also love like Rebels. But
Oh,
there's just
dude,
something about The
I didn't even
Mandalorian.
think about like Rebels, bro, or Clone Wars. I mean, if I have to answer that, I'm going Clone Wars. I was thinking
Yeah.
more of like the newer live action, like
Right.
the newer live action.
Yep. Out of the new ones, it's Mando and Andor. Um, but I there's just Star Wars. I also really love Star Wars Visions, which doesn't get enough love.
It's good.
I was because I recently just got into anime like in the past like 2 years. And I know we both went on our Naruto journeys, um, and we've seen 800 episodes of Naruto, so we're well on our way. But yeah, so those are the shows that I really enjoy. So let's get to it. Star Wars Celebration. As Bates said, I last summer I was working in Alabama. I'm from Philly. Well, I'm from Lehigh Valley. I work for Philadelphia Flyers. I was originally in Alabama when I bought tickets for Star Wars Celebration. I was working for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, and I was so hyped to go. And then I got a new job, and I was like, I don't want to just like be like, oh, by the way, I'm taking off for this. So I cowered. I was a coward, and I did not go to Star Wars Celebration, and I miss all of my TikTok mutuals and friends, especially
Oh, a lot
Facts
of them
Guy.
go. Did Chaco go?
Yeah, I think Chaco. I think Chaco was there. I don't know. Element was there,
Oh, okay, Element. Yeah, I remember Element.
and Kels was there, and Star Wars Facts Guy was there. Oh my god, all my peeps over there. But um, yeah, so I had to watch from afar, but we got a lot of cool stuff. And first thing we're going to talk about is Ahsoka. What are we thinking, Bates?
What are we thinking? I mean, I'm so excited for this. As we just talked about, Clone Wars is probably my favorite show. I didn't know we were including the older stuff. I
Mhm.
remember watching that original 2008 Clone Wars movie, which I mean, we could all be objective here. It's not a very good movie. And as a kid, it was incredible. It's the first time we met Ahsoka, and to see her, go through Clone Wars, she's one of the best Star Wars characters. And I'm so glad she's getting her own show. And I'm just so excited for this, not only because we get to see Ahsoka again and have her own show, We get to see Thrawn again. We get the continuation of the storylines that we've seen in Rebels. And that's kind of what we're going to start today is there were a lot of Rebels references, as you can see in my background. We have lovely Lothal in live action. It looks like the exact same shot from like the ending scene of Rebels, which I'm just so excited for to see this in live action, to see all this again. We saw, Lothal, we saw Sabine in the background over my shoulder. Oh, there we go.
There
Shoulder
we go.
here. We saw Hera, Chopper. We saw like the hologram of Ezra. We just saw the back of the head of Thrawn, but I am so excited for Thrawn. He is one of the best characters, not only in canon but in Legends. He has some great stories, and to see him again is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that trailer was really cool. They released it right after they showed it at Celebration, which I'm appreciative of because I kept seeing tweets of just like, oh my god, Ahsoka, Thrawn. There's a shot of Thrawn that was taken at Celebration, like of the trail of like an exclusive shot or something where we saw Lars Mikkelsen's
Oh,
face.
like you actually like saw his
Yep.
face. Oh, I think
Yep.
I saw
So
that. I think I saw it on Instagram. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
so that was real. It was Lars Mikkelsen, voice actor from Rebels, to play him in live action, which is I think what most people wanted.
Glad it's the
Um,
same voice actor.
yeah, because it's Star Wars is really lucky in the fact that they have like Katie Sackhoff who voices Bo-Katan, and now we have Lars Mikkelsen who voices Thrawn. But I think I just want to talk about like the character designs of like the main Ghost crew and Thrawn. Like I think they looked really good. What do you think, Bates?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I mean, I think Sabine, is what I was envisioning. Like they don't look like too like crazy different from
She grew out her
um
hair.
yeah, she did, and I'm all for it. Sabine's my girl. But yeah, I mean, it looks similar to the colors that we saw her from Rebels. Like Hera, like looks really good in live action. Chopper, I mean, it's Chopper. I mean, sorry to you know, it's a droid. So that's pretty accurate. I mean, I'm sure we'll see Zeb at some point. I know we already saw him in The Mandalorian, so that's awesome. But
Yeah.
I think the character designs are pretty good. I know there was a lot of backlash in Obi-Wan about the Grand Inquisitor and some
Yeah.
other in the Fifth Brother and some of those. But I think they hit the nail on the head here with the character designs. I feel like they're very accurate to the Rebels animations, and I'm just really excited to see this again because as Connor knows, I was a former, I wouldn't say a hater of Rebels,
Hater.
but no, I wouldn't use that word. I would just say I always preferred Clone Wars more, but the ending of Rebels season 3 and 4 was very good. Even the end of season 2 was good of Rebels, and the show kind of grew out of like, its infancy. And I'm excited to see this again. Like I just said, I think they did a good job with the characters here. And there's so much more like to talk about. There's so much in this trailer. And how long was it, Connor? Like a minute and 50?
Yeah, it wasn't even, I mean, it was a trailer. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it
And
wasn't even it was just like a
there's so
teaser.
much to hit
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so
And
much.
I mean, we can go into that. First, I just something like the trailer was so action packed that it was hard to pick up a bunch of stuff. Um, but I mean, what were your initial thoughts on the actual trailer? Like the stuff that was happening, like what stuck out to you?
What stuck out to me was definitely, we'll get into it here. Was definitely those new dark siders we got,
Yeah,
with the orange and red, kind of orange red lightsabers, which the orange lightsaber has never been seen in canon. I know there's some stuff in Legends about it. Um, but both of those dark siders to see them was pretty interesting. Balin Skull, which fun fact, he actually voices Gar Saxon, which I'm a big
really.
Gar Saxon guy. Yeah, I saw that on the wiki. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was on Wikipedia.
Hey,
Uh,
that's the Bible. Okay. Um, I really, I really like those Darksiders. I was curious because when I first saw the trailer, it's like, is that a red lightsaber? Is that not a red lightsaber? Like, it's kind of in the middle, and I'm not completely sold on either way specifically. I don't know. Like, I feel like that had to be a choice for them to like not make it because we've seen the red lightsabers with at least like even in the shows with like Vader and Kenobi. Like, that's not what those lightsabers look like. Um, but they are really intimidating. They look very capable, and the guy with the beard, Balin Skull, he was looking like he had his own hallway scene.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look like it's almost a shot for shot remake of the Rogue One hallway scene where he like grabs the soldier, the rebel, and he's just like gets choked up in the air.
Yeah, it looked just like
So
it.
yeah, that was something that I really thought was cool. And then something else was that it looked like Ahsoka was fighting him in like the world between worlds.
It did. It did. It looked like the similar symbols that we saw from that painting in Rebels of
Yeah.
you know the daughter, the son, and the father. Like that whole scene. That looked really cool. And they had those like ancient pillars behind them. Yeah, it definitely looked like they were in some ancient area. Maybe it was underground. Maybe it's the world between worlds. I mean, we'll find out. But that looks sick. That like we know they're gonna fight at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a
eh,
couple there's a couple theories that I've seen, which I don't know if we have confirmation on any of them. I've seen one where they're like, these are fallen Jedi after Order 66.
I saw that as well. Saw the rumor that Balin's skull was a Jedi that survived. I don't know how true that is. I don't know where that was confirmed. If that was confirmed at celebrations, I mean, do you know about that? I saw that a couple places.
No, I don't know. I can't confirm or deny it seems like if that's true, it'd be the same vibe as like a Terran Malicos from
I love that
Fallen
guy.
Order.
Love
Yeah.
that guy from
So like
yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind if that's what happened because I mean more Fallen Jedi. I really enjoyed that story, like seeing how everybody basically recovers from Order 66 and like how they deal with the trauma of that. Some people lose it, some people fall to the dark side, some people get influenced, some people just become inquisitors. So it's like I wonder if they're inquisitors or if they're just dark
Well,
siders.
it's interesting you say Inquisitors, Connor, because if you saw one of the shots, it looked like an Inquisitor was fighting Ahsoka, but they had the mask on. I slowed it
Yeah,
down.
it's I
Yeah,
think it might be the Inquisitor who used the helicopter saber. Remember in Rebels when they're fighting Maul and he
but
like
he's supposed to be
helicopter
dead.
sabers off? Yeah, well, you know Star
He
Wars. Come
was
on.
killed.
We
Like
didn't see his body, okay? It's like Tech. Tech
yes,
isn't dead.
true.
We know
But I
Tech isn't
swear it was
dead.
confirmed that he was killed. It did look like him, and I zoomed in on his face, and the mask looked very similar. But also, it could be that apprentice of Balin's skull, which is Shin Hati, which is
Oh yeah.
apparently her name from again Wikipedia. We're going off of Wikipedia. Don't know
Yeah.
how accurate this is or if that was confirmed, but it could be her if I had to guess. Um, but apparently that Inquisitor is dead. But maybe he isn't. Maybe
Maybe
that
he
was
isn't.
him.
Yeah.
We'll see. But the theory that I was just thinking of, Connor, with Balin's skull and all that, what if they're like Jedi or they're Sith from the past or the future because of the world between worlds? So we
Right.
got a
That's
whole like
exactly
world
yeah.
between world battle going on here.
That was gonna be the second theory that I brought up. It's like so technically the way that I understand it, the world between worlds is not time travel. It's a place outside of time or where all time is happening simultaneously. Kind of think it in my head, it's like the um the one above all with
It's almost like it's
like
like you could go
Loki.
into any moment in time at any
Right.
point, and whoever controls it, just like I mean, this whole thing in Rebels, like whoever
Right.
controls it can like control fate.
Right. So I mean that would be cool if like they were somehow pulled out of their time and they're stuck in the world between worlds, or they are somehow get stuck where Ahsoka is, and um, it's the world between worlds is interesting just because it's not something that I completely comprehend, and like I don't know what the possibilities are within it. I'm sure we'll learn a lot more, especially for one of the things that I think these live action shows have been doing well is like record or like basically just giving everybody like a brief synopsis of what the lore is for people who haven't seen the animated shows. So it's like in the Mandalorian, we learn about the dark saber from the armor, where it's like he's like, she asks him like, do you know what this is? And he's like, it's a dark saber. And then she goes on a little tangent explaining what it is. I'm assuming we'll get something like that in Ahsoka, because these live action shows are way more approachable for
Yeah,
like
they're
the
catered towards
casual.
the more casual Star
Yeah.
Wars fan. Because like you just said there with the dark saber, I mean, if you saw Rebels or Clone Wars, you already know what it is. But a lot of the audience who don't watch the animated shows, which Disney knows that there are a good amount of people that don't
Yeah.
watch those shows, they include that context. So there could be additional context here in Ahsoka, especially for a lot of what happens in Rebels. I'm sure that they'll touch on it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah. And I think actually we're running out of time here.
Well, we are a little bit, but we can keep going. I think in another recording here.
Yeah.
We're
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break and come back for a new Zoom room so we can continue the podcast.
yeah, so we will be right back, everybody. Insert awkward transition here. We'll be right back.
All right. And we're back from a short intermission because we ran out of time on our Zoom meeting. So, where were we, Bates?
Where were we? That's a great question. I mean, we were kind of getting towards the end of our points talking about Ahsoka, but there was one thing I wanted to talk about, which is we see a cameo. Again, we saw a lot of Rebels characters. We actually saw somebody from Clone Wars.
Yes.
Huang, the lightsaber.
Huang!
The GOAT. That was really cool to see him. I wonder what he's been up to. I mean, probably, dead somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do you think they put him back together?
Yeah, he was put back together. I mean, in Clone Wars. I mean, he didn't have arms
Right.
at a point, but I guess
Like,
it
what
looked
is
like
he?
he was on Coruscant, right? Like it
Yeah,
looked
like, what is he
Coruscant
doing?
or
Because
Lothal.
I believe what he says is like, he's like, let's start up again or something like that.
Yes, that means Luke's got to show up, or maybe Ezra.
Wow. Are we just going to see Luke in every show?
I mean, I'm about it.
I
Also,
love Luke.
does Ahsoka like become a Jedi again? Because they say Jedi
Right.
in the trailer.
Let's talk about that. What do we think the plot line of this show is going to be?
I mean, I think it's gonna be leading into the larger plot of the Dave Filoni show, as you name it, the Filoniverse movie. Or not show, it's a movie actually.
The whole thing's the Filoniverse.
Yeah, it was brought up at Celebrations that there's going to be a movie produced by Dave Filoni that's going to kind of bring together all of the Disney Plus shows and kind of like combine all the stories. So Ahsoka brought up multiple times about there's something dark. This sentiment was repeated by that Rebel pilot in Mandalorian, and it seems to be centered around Thrawn and like the unknown regions and basically the First Order. So I think that's what it's going to be centered around is, you know, Thrawn returns, maybe with, these like dark siders from the unknown regions. Ahsoka, has to take them on. We see like the New Republic. So it sounds like they're going to be part of the story as well as Heron, like the Rebels crew. And I'm sure we're going to see Ezra at some point. I mean, surely. I mean, this
We
dude
see him in the
disappeared.
trailer as like a hologram. So wait, do we know what he said? Do you remember what he said in the hologram? Is it like an old hologram?
It was like an old Ezra didn't say anything in the trailer, did he? It was just an old hologram of Ezra.
Okay, yeah, because I'm not quite remembering, but I didn't even, for some reason I thought it was like, oh yeah, like that's Ezra, but it's actually probably Ezra recording, kind of like the same thing he did when he's like at the end of Rebels when he's like, if you're seeing this, that means that I went into space with Purgles.
Oh yeah, and we saw them in Mandalorian, so
Yeah,
we're gonna see them again. I'm ready to see the space whales. I'm all for it. I'm
yeah,
all for the space whales.
I love Purgles. I love them. I think that this show, I mean, we're gonna find Ezra. Maybe I'm trying to think
It
because
also seems like there's gonna be a huge point on the World Between Worlds. Like there's
yeah,
got to be that and Thrawn. I feel like are gonna be the main focal points.
yeah, those guys. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, at this point, it's past the Empire. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's post Return of the Jedi. It's in the time of the Mandalorian. I'm assuming. So
I mean, yeah, because in Mandalorian, I mean, I'm sure it's the same because we see it looks like the New Republic leaders. Ahsoka and the Mandalorian was looking for Thrawn. What was that lady's name, by the way? The High
I
Magistrate.
yeah,
I
I
forget
think
her
the
name,
High
but she was in the
Magistrate.
trailer.
Yeah, she was in the trailer because she was working with Thrawn.
Yes, and she was on
Um,
some kind of ship.
yeah, I I'm curious to see like what Thrawn is doing.
Yeah, what he's been up to all this time because he disappeared before the events, like basically right before the events of New Hope, and he's been mysteriously apparently gone like the entire war. So I'm curious what he's been up to. But then that goes back to like the unknown regions and the First Order because his species, which do you know what the name of his species is? They like are from the
Chiss,
unknown regions. What was that?
the Chiss.
Chiss, yes, there are like from the unknown regions. So I feel like that's probably where he's been hanging out the whole time. I
The
mean, those
thing,
space whales just took him and Ezra somewhere. So
yeah, the
probably
thing
where he's
with
been up to.
Thrawn. How familiar are you with the books?
I know like a couple stuff, like from when I say stuff, I know like a couple things
Yeah.
about Thrawn from the books.
So basically, Book Thrawn. Now, let me preface this with I have not read all of the Thrawn books. I've almost finished two of them. But basically, the idea of Book Thrawn is that he was like kicked out of the Chiss ascendancy, which is like the army and the government of the Chiss, because his ideas were like too radical. And
Oh,
he is basically like testing to see, he joins the Empire to see if they're like, he's like, yo, I think they might be able to help me like protect myself from the unknown, protect the Chiss from the unknown regions. Like there's a bunch of crazy stuff in the unknown regions that like no one knows about except for him and like maybe some of the Chiss. But he joined the Empire to see, he's like, can these guys help me? So he's always loyal to his people first in the books. He's always loyal to the Chiss. And the thing that I've seen a lot of people question is like, Thrawn isn't just a straight villain in the books. He always errs on the side of like, I don't want to kill people unnecessarily. Like, I'm just doing this to help my people.
didn't do that in Rebels.
But he didn't do that in Rebels, exactly, which is why people are scared for what's going to happen in this show. Because, like, if they just make him a straight villain, then that kind of makes the books irrelevant.
I mean, they've done that before.
Right.
People are familiar with the Ahsoka book. Um, there were things in that were changed when Ahsoka appeared in Tales of the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the Inquisitor that comes and she fights. And they definitely changed things from books and comics to kind of fit the more of the TV stuff. So I have a feeling he'll just be a straight up villain.
Yeah.
When I can tell.
The thing is, like, I can live though. So, like, I can live with the other retcons that they did with like Kanan and
Oh, that
Ahsoka.
was another one.
Yeah.
I'm upset about that, but
Yeah.
you know.
Like, I I'm okay with it because the story element is kind of there. Like he basically like for Kanan, for example, his character isn't ultimately changed by the fact that it was the Bad Batch instead of I forget the clones' names that helped him. But
Yeah, the clone helped him, and then there was that
right,
alien on the planet that helped him like escape. Yeah.
right. And with Ahsoka, kind of a similar idea, just the details are a little bit off with, you know, um like
In the book, she made the lightsaber explode on the guy, and I thought that
right.
was pretty cool. I
Yeah.
mean, in this show, she got it. In the show, she just like took his lightsaber and cut him down in like 2 seconds, which I guess was. I mean, it
Right.
did really. You're right. Yeah, I see your point.
But it
It didn't
doesn't
really
fundamentally
change
change
anything.
her character.
Yeah.
But the thing with Thrawn is like if he's just a villain and a terrible person, like
I mean, he was in Rebels, so I'm assuming
right,
they're just going to continue that.
right, which is not ideal for me. But it depends on how they do it. If it's good, it's good. Still be in the back of my head. It's like, well, that's not Thrawn.
Yeah, I
But
hope this show is good, man, because admittedly, in my opinion, I mean Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett were not were not the best shows. They had a lot of fan
yeah,
service and there were some obviously cool moments. But I feel fundamentally, I mean, Andor and The Mandalorian have had the best stories of the new Disney shows.
yeah.
So I'm really hoping that this show is a banger.
The one
I
thing
really hope
the
that.
one thing I will give the Book of Boba Fett because that is
This one was rushed.
It's a weak show overall, just because it got derailed by Mando,
The
like
Book of Mando, yes,
the
yes,
Book of
yes.
Mando. Episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, where we see him become part of the Tuscan tribe.
Yeah, that was sick.
That is probably my favorite episode of Star Wars, maybe ever. Like
Really?
that episode is so good. I
I didn't
put
know
it
you
up
liked
there.
it that
I
much.
put it up
That's the
there
one where
with
they.
like when Luke shows up in The Mandalorian. Like I cry every time that happens, but I also get teary-eyed when Boba Fett is dancing, doing his like haka dance with the Tuscans at the end. Like that
Is
is,
that the same episode where he's like a bantha?
yeah,
Is that
exactly. Yeah,
episode?
where he's like teaching them how to use the speeders and stuff. Yeah, that episode. I need to
That's a
rewatch
great
that episode. I
episode. The
love
first two
that.
episodes of Book of Boba were great. I loved all the flashbacks. It's just that I feel like that show relied way too much on fan service and there
Yeah.
wasn't enough story and development for the actual character of the show. And I'm worried in the Ahsoka show that they're going to go down a similar route with, oh, you already see all these other characters from other shows, and that it's going to be less about Ahsoka and more about other things than Ahsoka, which I'm hoping that if they do go that direction, it's like a strong story still, like they did with Andor. Like, yes, it was Andor was the name of the show, but there were so many themes that they also hit on and other characters that they developed that then culminated into this entire story that was just told really well. So I'm hoping they go like a direction like that. If Ahsoka, it's the name of the show, but there's other themes. I'm hoping it's done like that instead of the way it was done in Book of Boba. Like, oh,
Right.
here's the Mandalorian for a whole
Yeah.
episode. And oh, here's Boba Fett randomly riding the Rancor that he never trained with. Like, oh, I could talk about that. But
Yeah. No,
yeah.
and no, I agree because at one point Boba Fett had like no lines in 2 episodes.
Yeah, pretty
It was the
much.
Mandalorian. That's the thing with the Filoniverse is what I'm calling it. It's like you have to take it with a grain of salt because all of these shows are going to culminate into like an Avengers type movie where we're going to
I'm all
see,
for.
yeah,
I just want the individual shows to,
have their
in
own
my
arcs.
opinion, they should have their arcs
Yeah,
and do a good job of actually developing the character it's about. Boba.
right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people agree with us as well. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to see how this will all lead up to like that Filoniverse movie that we were talking about, where it's like we got an announcement of 3 movies. First one we'll talk about is that Filoniverse movie where Dave Filoni is directing a movie that'll culminate
The GOAT.
all of these, specifically the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, and Ahsoka. Those 3 shows are the shows that are going to be based with this movie. Those are the 3 shows that we'll see culminate into this movie.
No, I'm all for it.
What are we thinking?
What am I thinking? I'm all, like I just said, I'm all for it. Um, I think it'll make more sense. Like the Book of Boba Fett, I mean, we just talked about the problems with that show. But if there's going to be a movie that's going to explain maybe more about that and all of these plot points that we're seeing now with Mandalorian that seem a little disconnected, and maybe we're going to see stuff in Ahsoka, then it's going to all come together and make sense. And I'm all for that. I mean, I love Dave Filoni. I have criticized him in the past, as you know, about relying more on fan service than a story, but he
Fair
did such a good
criticism.
job with Clone Wars. I mean, I love that anime show so much, and they did such a good job with that. Him and Jon Favreau. I'm sure Jon Favreau will be involved in the show. I mean, surely he will. I mean, he's involved in Mandalorian. I'm all for it. I'm excited to see where this goes because a problem with the sequel trilogy is that there wasn't a lot of context. And I feel like they have an opportunity. They've already kind of done with the Mandalorian and kind of exploring the New Republic. They have a real opportunity here to explain those movies and give it additional context. And the reason they kind of did that, the same thing with Clone Wars. I mean, when it was just episode 1, 2, and 3, those movies were highly criticized. But when the Clone Wars became a thing in between episodes 2 and 3, it added a lot of context and a lot of new stories to that era. And it really made the movies better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to them doing something similar here with this Filoniverse movie and kind of showing more of like, oh, this is why the New Republic sucks. And how the First Order became like rose to power. And I'm all for it. What about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of touched on it. I think this is going to do wonders for people understanding the sequel trilogy. Um, there wasn't a lot of context, like you said. All of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that there is
Somehow Palpatine returned.
the yeah, exactly. Don't get me started on Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
but
that was yeah.
but I think that this Filoniverse is going to be kind of the quote unquote Clone Wars for the sequel trilogy, where we're gonna see why. Because if you just watch the movies, it goes from, you know, end of episode 6, where, everyone's happy, the Empire's destroyed. It wasn't really destroyed, but you know, still have remnants and stuff like that. To all of a sudden, like 20 or 30 years later, it's now there's another big power that built
Yeah, how
another
did that
Death Star.
happen? Yeah.
And I think the fact that we're going to see how Snoke was created, we're going to see we're going to see why the New Republic fell, which in the books and Aftermath trilogy, they do a pretty good job of, planting seeds for all that
Those
stuff.
are great books, by the
Yeah.
way. I admittedly have not read them, but luckily YouTube exists, and
Yeah.
I have seen videos about all that stuff and like the final battles and events after the Battle of Endor and how the New Republic came to rise.
Yeah.
So those
Basically,
books are awesome.
one of the problems, I mean, we're seeing it in The Mandalorian right now, is that they were a little too lax with the fact that people in the Empire, like people with the people in the Empire, and with their rehabilitation program, or what is it called?
Yeah, what is the name of it?
We're gonna call it like the rehab for people in the Empire. Um,
Amnesty program.
Amnesty program, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're seeing it with people in the amnesty program that they could still be loyal to the Empire, and we're also seeing one of the big things is that they demilitarized the New Republic
Yeah,
too
90% of their
soon,
military. Yeah.
way too
Yeah.
soon, just so they allowed everything else in the Outer Rim to be to basically like flourish, which is what we see with when what's his face goes and is asking for help with Grief Karga. It's like, hey, we got pirates on this planet, and the man,
Yeah,
like,
Navarro,
yeah,
those
Navarro,
pirates just take over in the New
and
Republic
he's like, we don't
doesn't
have
have
any
the
ships,
resources.
we don't have
Yeah,
any
they
ships
don't.
available.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. So that will be able to bridge the gap, and specifically with this movie, I think that it's going to. I'm assuming Thrawn's going to be the big villain.
I think so too. But then again, what's his name? Balin Skull was like the main voice in that trailer. So I
Right.
feel like he's gonna be a big role as well. Um, yeah, either him or Thrawn has got to be the main villain.
Yeah. Either way, I'm excited for it. Hopefully everything leads up to like an Avengers level threat and an Avengers level story where we can see everybody work together for a common goal. And it'll be cool to see all these characters interact, which is something I'm excited for.
Yeah, same here. As long as they make it work, I'm all for it. I'd like to have some context, and I'd like them to actually explain stuff, and not just this. I'd love to see Cad Bane again. I feel like he's not actually dead. That's another thing from the Book
Yeah.
of Boba. Maybe he like randomly shows up. Just make it work, Filoni. Just make it work, man. That's all I'm asking. Just make
Nobody's
it work.
no one's ever really gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next movie that we have here, the movie that I'm excited about, Rey Skywalker.
You might be the only one excited about this. No,
Rey Skywalker and the New Jedi Order.
Yeah, it's funny you're saying that. Whoever's hearing Skywalker and Rey in front of it right now is just
They're going
glitching out right now hearing you say
Rey
that.
Palpatine, Rey Skywalker. They're
Everybody is very upset at you just by saying those two words together. But I'm actually low-key interested for this as well, Connor. Because like we just said, with the Filoniverse movie explaining the sequel trilogy. I think this is also going to help explain it. Even though it's 15 years in the future, I think it's going to really build on Rey's character, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. Admittedly, because of the sequel trilogy and the many fun plot holes we have, I think
Come
they have
on
an
now.
opportunity with the show to make Rey, I mean, more likable character in the sense, and add to her character more. And I'm all for it. I'm excited to see what they do with it. So, do you want to go into like what this show is going to be about? Like,
Yeah, so
what do we know
they
so far about it?
so they announced it at Celebration. Daisy Ridley came out onto the stage. Um, I was super excited to see her back because she left social media for I
They
think
did
over
clap,
a
guys. They
year.
clapped. Yeah,
Yeah, they were people were excited. I have friends at Celebration who saw her and it was awesome to see them geek over her. But yeah, basically she came out. We know it's going to be 15 years after the sequels. She's going to be rebuilding the Jedi Order and a new like Jedi Academy ish. Um, that's about all we know. We haven't heard anything about John Boyega as Finn.
I'd
As we
love to
know,
see
he has
Finn.
been outspoken against the way that he was treated, the way his character was treated, which I don't blame him for. I think, I think he was, I think he,
He was
I
wildly
get frustrated.
underused, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
the way that he was marketed towards us with the Force Awakens and the what we saw in the movies after that was disappointing for sure. I hope that Disney's going to write him a fat check, and I hope that Disney's going to convince him to come back because we deserve to see Jedi Finn. We
I
deserve
mean, it was all hinted. Like,
right.
surely he's force sensitive.
We deserve in the movies for Finn to say, "I'm force sensitive. I'm going to become a Jedi," or at that point he'd be like, "I am a Jedi," because he would be
Yeah,
training
he
for
would be a
15
Jedi at
years.
that point. I'd be all for it.
We have sort of inklings of force sensitive Jedi Finn from the Lego specials, specifically the Lego Holiday Special and the Tales, like the scary the Halloween one, like Christmas
I haven't
special.
seen those, but I believe you.
Basically, he's using Rey's lightsaber to train with that little training droid from
Oh,
the
yes,
original
yes.
trilogy.
Yeah.
Um, and we see another force sensitive character in the Halloween special. So they're hinting at it. It just obviously it's not canon.
I mean, they hinted
That
about it in the movies too.
oh
Like,
yeah,
remember?
yeah, and I'm
Remember
pretty
in
sure they
nine, she had
confirmed
to
it.
tell Ray something, or he had
Yeah,
to tell Ray something, and he never said it.
right.
Like, what was it?
It's such
Oh,
an
he's force sensitive.
so odd why they didn't just go all the way in. But we digress because the Rise of Skywalker gets me going. Where I get so passionate about what happened. I just wish it was a little bit different. But um, I think that Finn coming back will complete the show for me. And I love Daisy Ridley and I love Rey as a character. Where I think that she has a lot of trials and tribulations that she has to go through, where she has to find herself, she has to deal with failure. She deals with failure so much where she gets tortured by Snoke. She um just goes through a lot of stuff where she doesn't believe in herself, she doesn't know who she is. She gets through all of that, and I'm curious to see how powerful she's going to be. She's going to be a beast in the fact that she has had 15 years to train with the books, and um I'm excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see what
she was already
happens.
OP in the trilogy, so just imagine how OP she's gonna be in in this new movie. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man. I mean, like I mentioned, I joked about earlier with you about them not clapping. I saw some posts on the internet that there were reports that nobody had clapped for Daisy
Which
Ridley.
is
Apparently, that's not true. That's
trolls.
just total
Yeah,
cap.
I've
Total
had I
cap.
have first person sources that deny that.
People
So
are just still tight about those movies, and I mean,
it's
rightfully
ridiculous.
so in some points, in my opinion. I know you really like that sequel trilogy, but they kind of, in my opinion, they botched that last movie.
No, well, to be honest, I love the Last Jedi. I love the Last Jedi. The Force Awakens is like it's okay for me. It's like
It's a New Hope
it's a
copy,
New
but it
Hope.
did a good job setting up
Yeah,
like the trilogy. Yeah,
yeah, I agree that, but um the Rise Skywalker is my least favorite movie. It's not like I hate it. I don't hate it. Like I can watch it and enjoy it. But I just wish some of the decisions that they made were different. And I think that it was a little rushed. And they killed Ben. Okay. They killed my boy Ben. And they didn't have to do that.
And the most awkward kiss of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's not talk about this. So
He's had enough.
Rey Skywalker, New Jedi Order. Super excited.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
We don't have that much information on it, but we're looking forward to it. And finally, the third movie that they announced, Dawn of the Force, Dawn of the Jedi. Basically, we're going back to the beginning, Bates. We're going back 25,000 years. Okay. It is going to be the farthest back we've ever gone, past the Old Republic, very beginning of people becoming aware of the Force. And what I'm assuming is the beginning of the Jedi. Obviously, the Force has always been there, but when people become aware of it and start to form religions around it is what I'm assuming. We don't know that much, but what are your initial thoughts? Because I know we had been talking about it. You were excited about it, but what are we thinking?
What am I thinking? Well, first thought that goes through my old brain here is we're going to see those, remember in the sequel trilogy, the island Luke was hanging out on, that was supposedly the first Jedi temple.
The Prime Jedi.
What's that planet called again?
Octo. It's the island.
Octo. So I'm assuming we're going to see Octo because we're getting, the Dawn of the Jedi. I mean, that was the first temple. So I'm sure we'll have some reference to that. I mean, there's not much detail on this yet. But I'm interested because it would be cool to see, how the Jedi started and how the Force began. And one thing that's just coming into my mind is that Clone Wars arc with Yoda. And when he trained to become a Force ghost, I mean,
priestesses.
Maybe we go into those priestesses. Maybe we go into the world between worlds. Maybe we go into stuff like that. So this is all just speculation. I mean, we don't know a lot about it, but those are just some of my initial thoughts. But I'm intrigued to see what direction they would go. What about you?
I agree with you completely. Obviously, this is probably the movie we know the least about. It's going to be cool to see. The cool thing about these announcements is that we have a movie that's 15 years in the future, the farthest we've ever gone forward, 25,000 years back, the farthest we've ever gone back. And then we have one smack right in the middle. Well, not right in the middle, but we have one in the middle between everything. So everyone is eating. Everyone is getting something that they like. So you got the Filoni stands that get their movie, you get the sequel stands that get theirs, and then you've got the prequel super deep Jedi lore.
Super prequel, yeah.
The super deep Jedi lore that we're gonna get. I think it's gonna be cool to see like the very beginnings of a Jedi religion, how they try to understand the Force. Maybe we'll even see the first lightsaber. Like that would be super cool to be able to see the forming of a lightsaber to begin with. Like,
oh, I didn't even think of that. That'll be really interesting.
Right. And I was a history major for a little bit. So I love lore and history, and I'm curious to see like what references we can see towards, I mean, like on Octo, like, will we see that Prime Jedi? Because remember when he's sitting in that little cave with Rey, and in the pool in the background, there's the Jedi with like the big head, like that's like split half and half, that little background.
I don't remember that specifically, but it's probably just some like old, like you think we're gonna see something like that,
right? Like I'm assuming that's what is gonna be kind of what we're learning about. And then we have kind of to go off that. I mean, we kind of have a little gap between that and the Old Republic. So I mean, there's tons of stories to be told there. Like, we are just getting so many more avenues for content, which is, I think, what all of us want. Some good content, and it's going to be cool to see the movies back in theaters. Like, it's going to be cool to be like,
do we have any announcement yet on like the date of these movies? Like how close together they're going to be? Like, do we have any idea yet?
I'm pretty sure that we have, like, Disney has slots for movies that like I think they may be like 2 years apart or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, we have those movies, which I'm super excited about, and I think you're also excited about.
Yeah.
Last thing we're going to talk about here is Star Wars Visions.
Yes,
I,
sir.
like I said, I love Star Wars Visions. I have been on that train since the very beginning when they announced it at like the D23 online like investors thing. Like I had been all in on anime and Star Wars anime, and now we are getting season 2, May 4th. We're going to have not just Japanese anime, but animation from around the world. What are we thinking?
What are we thinking? I mean, Vision season 1 was awesome. There were so many cool stories that they um told in Star Wars Visions, and it was cool to see all the different animation styles and references to other films. Like whole first episode where it was like an old school like samurai movie, and then we had like there were some weird episodes, but it was cool like to just see different parts of Star Wars and it being interpreted in the different animations and different stories. So Vision season 2, I mean, I'm all for it. This time it seems they're not just doing anime, they're going to do different styles. Like I saw in the trailer, like a whole claymation
Yep.
kind of deal. So that's interesting. I also saw a lot of Imperial references in the trailers. So it seems like they are obviously still pulling from like these stories. I'm assuming are obviously not canon. They're like
Right.
interpretations of what Star Wars is and kind of like spin-offs. So I'm all for that. What are you thinking though?
I'm super excited. So I on the way to work, I was live streaming the panel for Star Wars Visions in my
Okay.
car. And the cool thing was to hear how like thankful and how emotional the creators got from the different countries that they were allowed to put their own little twist on Star Wars. And I know a lot of them used like folklore or like myths from their own cultures and inserted them into Star Wars. So that's something I'm super excited about. Obviously, not all the stories, not all the episodes will be for everyone. Like there's some episodes of season 1 that, they weren't my cup of tea, but some of them were fantastic. And I think everyone's going to be able to get their own little splice of um, new Star Wars and new interpretations, which is something I'm super excited about. And it's cool because they were all released on the same day on May the 4th. It's a little treat for us Star Wars fans, even like we even need anything else.
Yeah. So they'll all be released at the same time. I mean, I'm pretty sure with the first season they were what, like 10, 15-minute long
Yep,
episodes, if
yep, they're
that.
just short. So
They're
they'll
pretty
all
short.
be 15-ish minutes. So it's a nice quick watch, but it's something that'll be really fun to watch, which
Yeah, we'll
is
have to talk about that. I mean, that'll be really interesting. They kind of go through each episode. I just remember in season 1, like there was a whole episode with the lightsaber maker and how the lightsabers change color based on like your force. Like that is such
yeah,
a cool concept that I like that Disney is having this approach where they're allowing like interpretations of Star Wars and they're adding in cool things that maybe them as a studio would never have thought of. But
yeah,
this like I thought that was so sick, man. Where like you could pick up a lightsaber and like it just knows like what color it is based on like your force. Like that
right.
is so cool.
They're not bound by canon, which is cool.
Yeah, so they could try stuff. They could
Yeah,
they could be quote unquote edgy, I guess
right.
is the word you could use here.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's this Star Wars celebration was really cool because I got to see my mutuals on TikTok enjoy and meet up, and I wish I was there with you guys. But next Star Wars celebration, 2025 in Japan. That's a
Japan,
hard
baby.
ask. That's a hard ask. I might have to figure out how to budget
Yeah,
flights. I've always wanted to go to
expenses.
Japan. I think we should
Yeah,
do.
dude, it
I
would
think
be
we
it
should
would
do.
be
I'm all in right now. 2 years out.
dude,
I'm all
I
in.
am too, dude. I'm all in, but like, is it practical? Probably not. But am I all in right now? Absolutely. Because I mean, Star Wars Celebrations looked incredible in London. And I know even for a time I talked about going with you, and then I know
Yeah.
neither of us ended up going, but
No.
just to experience that, I think would be awesome, especially in Japan, because I mean, they were a main thing of Star Wars Visions. I feel like if they're going to be in Japan, if it's going to be in Japan, there's got to be something that Star Wars is going to announce there that's obviously like Japan themed. What
Right.
if we got like a longer movie of like Star Wars Visions? I'd be all about it,
That would
man.
be really cool. Yeah.
Like, I feel like, yeah, it would just be sick to be in Japan. Japan in general as a country is just, I mean, this is a Star Wars podcast, but a huge Pokemon guy and anime,
Yeah.
and I know we are as well. So
Yeah.
it'd be
No,
cool
it'll
to
be cool.
go there and kind of see Japan and be there at a Star Wars celebrations.
Yeah. And it's cool to see all the international fans get their share. Obviously, it would be nicer for us if it were
in America.
In America.
Yeah.
But it's cool that London got their celebration and Japan's now getting.
Yeah, they're huge on Star Wars over there in the UK. So it made sense that it was going to be there. Japan, I've never heard of it being huge on Star Wars, but obviously with Star Wars Visions, that's brought a huge audience, probably of Japanese fans to Star Wars. So it's cool that, I mean, it's different that it's going to be in Japan, but yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think that wraps up our first episode.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. It's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome. First episode. I'm thinking we do this again sometime. I'm thinking.
Well, of course. We'll have to do these every time there's like big announcements or stuff to talk about or what the people want to hear.
I mean, we could even. Hey, we could do it weekly. We could. Doesn't have to always be a.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. We'll be back. And I know some of you guys, some of my mutuals on TikTok were asking if they could be part of the podcast, if they could be a guest. So
that'd be awesome.
Put in your applications now. I do take bribes, but
I might take some too.
No, but this has been awesome. It's something we've been looking to do for a long time, and me specifically, finally being able to pull the trigger. It was like last week. I was like, Bates,
I got a random text. Yeah, I'll give a little context for the people here. I get a random text from this man. I think it was just a random, like, I don't even know if it was morning or night, but it was just a random, like, hey, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. Like, it was just so out of the blue. There was no like preface to the message. I'm going to pull it up here. I'm pretty sure it was literally just, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, it was.
Here we are.
I was just thinking, and I was like, we talk about Star Wars every night on Discord, basically. Whenever something happens, we play FIFA together and we just kind of talk about Star Wars. And it's like, you know what? We could do that and also make a podcast. So it's happened. It's happening. It happened. And we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah. I got this text last week and it was at 7:42 randomly from this man. It just says, we should do a Star Wars podcast. I'm all for it. Here we are, man. That's how it started.
And now we're here a week later. No, this has been great, brother. The Starlight Podcast, RIP Starlight Beacon, to all my High Republic fans out there. You guys are the real ones. And we'll be back here. We appreciate it. May the force be with you. Any last words, Bates?
No, just other than just check us out on YouTube, Spotify, streaming platforms. Yeah, we'll see you around.
Let's do it, baby. All right. Thanks, guys.